and welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Wannop. Welcome to another episode this week. I mean, I'm really giving it to you people. How many? I don't even know. I got a lot of episodes in the last couple of weeks, and 2 more again next week with Matlock and Dexter Original Sin. Get ready for that. And I'm just going to tell you in this episode, it's the studio with production designer Julie Berghoff. Man, we talk about the Frank Lloyd Wright influence, the tribute of Hollywood history, the custom movie posters, I mean, reproducing the Golden Globes, that awesome green flooring. Yes, we talk all about it, so we'll get to that in a minute. I did have a question on the Spotify. Someone emailed me, hey, where can I see what you're talking about? If I don't say it enough, I'm sorry, but I do have videos of all of these interviews on the YouTube channel, and you can watch it all there and look at the sets that we're talking about. And the podcast is also on YouTube if you want to check that out. I also do some clips on TikTok and Instagram, which is all Decorating Pages podcast. So just search and follow and subscribe and like and comment. How about that? So today is the last day of the first round of the Set Decorator Society Awards for television. So if you are an SDSA member, please check your ballots. I am going to say please consider A Man on the Inside and Dr. Odyssey. There we go. That's it. You can check out that work on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, on Instagram and TikTok. I toot my own horn, but I do want you to check out the work. I'm not just asking for a vote. I would like you to check out the work and vote for worthy things. That's my platform. I would say go to my website, but I don't have the time to update my own website. I'm too busy with the podcast and other great things in life. But do you find that like updating your website is one of the last things you do? I mean, I've always found it hard to keep it updated, even though I can whiz through doing all of these promotional things for the podcast, but yet I can't do my own website. I don't know. I got to do that. Maybe after this show, which I am working on. A Man on the Inside season 2 is busy. It's a busy show. It's much busier than first season. So if you are a fan of the first season, we got a lot more for you in the second season. They're not sitting around the retirement community anymore. They're up and at 'em. So yeah, it's a great show, and I'm very happy to be on it, but it is super busy. So there's that. As I said, SDSA Awards ends today, first round, and then Emmy voting starts next Thursday, June 12th through the 23rd. So let's get to it. Let's get to, I love all of the behind the scenes stories. That's basically why I do all this, and especially when it shows that I really like. So, and I love architecture, and I love Frank Lloyd Wright, and the magic of building an entire studio, a Hollywood studio. What a dream job this show is for me. I just think it is. This episode, I am joined by the incredibly talented production designer Julie Berghoff, and the visionary behind Apple TV's The Studio. Judy walks us through how she and her team created the sets, had like 7 weeks prep. That's crazy. They did the studio logo. They created it on the Warner Brothers lot. Just an amazing amount of detail and thought process from the creators, and the collaboration with Julie and her team to make a really beautiful show. So I hope you enjoy. And again, you can watch it all on YouTube of all the sets that we're talking about. Enjoy. I think I met you once at the Emmys. I think briefly we said hello once, because I think it was the year you won for Handmaid's Tale.
Nice.
I remember.
Yeah, I was on Cloud 9 and probably so.
Yeah. Well, that
nice
lobby out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well deserved for that win, and I'm I'm sure you're really possibly going to be up there again for this because this is really stunning work. I mean, just phenomenal sets for the show. I mean, congratulations on all of it, and it's so popular.
Yeah.
Everyone I know is watching it, so that's a
It was you get those scripts and you're like, oh my God, I have to do this.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know it was going to end up being so sophisticated.
Mm,
Because I work with Seth and Evan. I did the pre-show pilot, and then I've worked with Seth as an actor. And the script didn't have a lot of description in it, as far as like just said studio, and it was pretty. Just they leave the writing to the jokes, and it was just really coming together and meeting with them and talking to them that we developed the look of the show together. And he really had a very distinct idea what he wanted the wardrobe to be for himself, and the color palette of the wardrobe.
hmm
So working with Cami, um, and seeing her color palette also influenced my interior colors. So that that's what happens on these projects that really shine. I feel like it's really just such a collaborative effort with everybody, and that's what happened on this one as well.
Did you input the Frank Lloyd Wright influence, or was that like collaborative, and or is that his favorite, or was that?
It was collaborative as well. We knew that we wanted it to be over 100 years old, that it was part of the Big Five,
Hmm.
and that it existed the same time as Warner Brothers, and all of them, MGM and RKO Studios. And so we looked at architects that existed at that time, and Art Deco obviously was a big influence, but Sony had already kind of taken the lead on that. It was also like looking at all the studios, what architecture already existed, and then finding our own version. And Frank Lloyd Wright, he did all of this Mayan revival in the first one was the Hollyhock House, which was like almost in the early 20s. So we leaned into that. And I actually I'm from Chicago, so I've had a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright in my life.
Mm,
More his Usonian and his prairie style. And it's so interesting when you know an architect, but then I really got to know him
really? Yeah.
with this, because I looked at all of his architecture, and I literally pulled elements from all of his architecture to make the offices.
Yeah. It to me, Frank Lloyd Wright is he chose how you were going to live. Like
Exactly.
the built-in of the furniture and everything, like he chose your views. He was
Yeah.
yeah. I mean that type of architecture is very direct and distinct, and I appreciate it greatly because then you're leading the viewers into everything. And just like with the design of the studio here, how you have so much circulation for these walk and talks, and it just gives such great views every time. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I mean, there was a lot of thought into this. We did have to do the studio first, so there was a lot of pressure for us to finish it quickly. I probably did 2 to 3 weeks of design, and then we literally set designed and built it in less than 7 weeks, and
Wow.
decorated
Oh,
it. And decorated it.
oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I know. And kudos to Claire Kaufman. The
Yeah.
decor is really, really perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
Claire and
can
I, this was our first time working
oh
together. We
nice.
had met before, and and we just like I also had it, obviously, because Frank builds all of his furniture, and almost all those, Frank's before mid-century, even though people call him mid-century.
Yeah.
He was a big influence on mid-century, and John Lautner worked with him as well. And Seth is a massive John Lautner fan,
Mm,
as I am as well. So like you're right. They look to the light, they look to the earth, they look to the sun coming through. They design their buildings to take in as much natural light and to move around the space. And so like um I shot in a Frank Lloyd Wright house in on the 5 year engagement, and
mhm.
then that was called the Birdhouse, and that actually was where Usonian, where he did the bricks with a bird
Hmm.
negative space through it, and the birds would actually fly around the house with the light coming through.
Oh,
And
it's beautiful.
like that was like my big wish to do with our logo, but I mean, we don't have a natural sun out there. I was like, hey Adam, can you put a light out there, or Russell, to like push through the whole space? And he laughed
Right.
at me. But that was the idea of the columns. That influenced the columns, and also influenced the Japanese Imperial Hotel influenced the columns as well. And we just kind of made ours a more modern version of it, with the acrylic and it being light, were diffused. So,
Yeah,
so those,
the lights in the columns are great, and the front door is fantastic also.
oh, thank
I'm
you. Yeah,
walking
that
through that.
was that was an Art Deco inspiration. I really wanted to do something in brass, but that was too expensive.
Yeah.
so, and working with Zach Fennon, when we really had a journey to get the logo right, which was it was a big undertaking to
Right.
come up with something classic that was over 100 years old that would also work everywhere in the studio. So we basically had to put it on the stages, put it, because Zach would walk around Warner Brothers at lunch and look at all the different logos, and then we would try the logo out in different spaces until we finally got the right one. And that was, the C logo was kind of just one of the many logos that we designed. And that, if you look inside the C, there's an actual kind of like sculptural um entity that we came up with to be in the background of our backing, that would cover the water tower at Warner Brothers, and that
Oh,
was inspired by the Chicago um, Frank Lloyd Wright inspiration. He did a beautiful park there that was torn down in the 20s. So
oh wow.
I really got to dive deep into Frank.
And only 7 weeks. You only, I mean, you had to, that's the impressive, that's always the impressive thing of the amount of research we can get done and pull from and then create in such a small time. Because I don't know, can you see what we're looking
Yeah,
at? Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, because the mural you have here is wonderful, and it's just this tribute to Hollywood and to film and everything. But the like not Pantene, but the making it look older, and those color choices are so fantastic with all the green and the flooring around it. It's really, really a beautiful idea there.
Thank you. And that
Yeah.
was my baby that literally kept me up at nights to the very end. We had to do it was inspired by film, and I, obviously, and I started with like the era of the 20s going all the way to like the 60s and into the early 70s. And so like the sun really helped. The sun became kind of our logo and different versions of it. And so I used the rays to create the different eras of filmmaking and storytelling in each one. And basically wanted to show that you know Continental has been around for a long time. It has made all kinds of movies, mostly leaning into the screwball comedies. So I looked to all the I like watched tons of old films, and like I didn't really realize that the Cary Grant films and things were called screwball comedies. I didn't know that was the term until Seth shared that with me. And then I was, of course, looking at all of the Laurel and Hardy, just like really, touching all of it. And so I did all these little, like I did basically a collage of all of my favorite movies and inspiration, and then worked with some fine artists to take my kind of digital collage and to bring it to life. And then we printed that on canvas. And my scenic Kay Crop, who's incredible, she and I also developed the floors together.
Oh, love the
she
floors.
she and I were literally using brooms to age this because it was so big. And I just got it. She was the one who led the way. I just was like having fun, and I used to be a scenic in theater like a million years ago. So sometimes
Oh, fun.
it's nice just to like to work with
Yeah.
your team to find out, like, I'm like, what are some of the secrets again?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So one
So
time I did this, and does that work for you? Like,
yeah,
people still
totally.
doing
And
that? Like,
exactly. I mean, and I get so many people reaching out to me about the floors, and I was like,
oh,
well, that's MDF and that's K. And
oh,
that was,
the
yeah.
floors, the floors are so phenomenal. And just it's not like a huge distracting pop of green either. It's smooth and it's relaxing and but it's so rich. It gives it such a like a base of richness in all of the sets. They're gorgeous.
Thank
I love
you.
it. I
Well,
love it.
it was it was I wanted to, I looking again to Frank Lloyd Wright, he used all natural materials mostly. I mean, even though concrete's not natural, he leaned into as much nature for his colors as well. And he did a lot of ceramic work. And I basically was going to do a bathroom in Seth's office, and we ended up not doing that because of budget, and it was like one shot in there. And so I took like the ceramic that I was going to make in there, and I decided to use it on the floors. So it's basically like a tiny little 4-inch ceramic tile became our floors.
Mm,
And working with Kay and how to get the different that ceramic vibe, she used a lot of magic potion and lots of glazes and stuff. And then it was basically, painted on MDF so
wow.
that it would have like a smooth finish. And then we epoxy the top of it to get like that kind of thickness and like reflectivity you get in tile.
Yeah. And
I'm
it
sorry, I'm so anal about stuff. I know
Oh
I'm
no,
probably
no,
giving
it's
you
the
too much
age,
details.
but it's the aging of it that makes, it all look so real too, or like that you think it's the real material, giving it the wear and tear of this being here for 100 years is just, that's where that's where it looks so phenomenal in every room that you have it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the tile really helped also because there was so much earth tone in there, and I mean, we did want it to feel tomb-like, but it was almost like if I wouldn't have gone with color on the floor, it would have been, I think, overwhelming
Right.
and too museum-like. So the
Yeah.
color on the floor, I think, also really helped like connect the characters to the space and like kind of created this beautiful like the color palette of his suits and browns and rusts and also Ike's Sal Saperstein's
Yeah.
burgundy suits. I mean, it really, I felt like Cameron and I really helped, together, working together to create the palette that would like just really center all the characters.
How big where this is on Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers, yes,
The
stage 23.
Stage 23. So the exterior is at Warner Brothers too, right?
The exterior is actually on the steps of the Warner Brothers TV building.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Is it still up? Is it
No,
No? Ah,
we literally got 2 days. We got one, we put it up on Friday. It was in front of their TV building. There's a lot of like fire rules and this and that. And I wanted to use the topography of the steps to make it feel like it's existing, and also like it gave us some topography also to like not have to build as much set,
right.
because basically if you're looking at this picture, the visual effects line is like one brick above Seth's head. And we set it up on Friday and we worked on the weekend for 2 more days, and then we shot it. I think we
Oh,
shot this on a Sunday because of it was a big area for Warner Brothers to actually go in and out of a building. So it was a quick, we prefabbed it in the mill and then set it up pretty quickly. And then I think and the scenics and the greens came in the last minute, just aging it.
wow. Because I feel like they're out there with the parking spaces and everything, and I felt like we saw more of it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. I thought there
We
was
saw it in the daytime a couple times, and
yeah.
then yeah, the episode with Quinn
Yeah.
and the burrito, that was and so we wanted to use the lot as much as possible to show that we were on a lot, and
Yeah.
so I was really happy when I found this location because it allowed us to have like the New York street behind us, and so Seth could just be also, we literally shot continuous in the opening scene when he comes from the lagoon area all the way
Right.
here, and we timed it out, and We actually had to reshoot it to compress the time a little bit because they only do continuous shots, so you can't just edit that down.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of working together and finding locations and timing it and going into the golf carts or walking it and seeing how all the spaces could work with camera and the actors and the script all lining up together. It was really fun to just watch how they would go out with the scripts and just say all the lines and see how it worked, and it was cool to watch.
I do love the camera work on the show. And I think it's the studio Instagram account shows a lot of it. Shows a lot of like the behind the scenes of the camera coming out of the car, and then they put the like trunk thing like the top on the trunks, and then you show the whole car, like the oneer, and showing like all of that happening, which sometimes for us dressing things is kind of like, oh my God, they really are seeing the world here, which is great because we want our world seen. But at the same time, it's like, oh shit, they're really seeing everything here. Like every single thing has to be dressed. No one can touch it. No one can be on set touching shit.
I mean, the blessing that we had with that, you're absolutely right. The blessing we had was that we wanted to see our world. So we wanted to, I leaned into some of the white trucks, which I
Yeah.
usually would balk
Yeah,
at.
right?
We would put lights out. I mean, or we would, and Seth and Evan were really good at showing us what they were going to film. And Adam Newport-Berra, our DP, he would just be like, this is the way we're going to film. This is the way we're looking. He would go out there with with the camera and show us the movement. And we were dressing a lot to camera to be precise about it. And then we could see the grips. So we could see their flags and things like that, because it added to the story of the background. And so, it helped us to see the world.
Yeah.
And gave us some free set dressing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Totally.
Open up the back of that grip truck.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
totally. It was like, oh, can you put and working? I mean, I was working even with our transpo captain. Like, yeah, can you put the end of the truck and open the
Yeah.
doors and things like that? So we were really precise working with every single department to get as much as we could visually with our base camp, even.
Yeah. 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 I can imagine. I think too, when I've done behind the scenes thing, like I've done a show that has a TV show in it, enhancing our world too, like enhancing the crafty or like enhancing the grip truck or shit. You're always like, yeah, this doesn't look Hollywood enough. We gotta get more shit here.
It's so true. And I know, and do not eat it is always a big thing that
yeah,
the
don't eat it.
decorators have to put on it. Yeah, for
A
sure.
prop master years ago told me just pour salt on everything. Just pour salt on everything, they'll never touch your food.
That's funny. That's a
Yeah.
good tip.
Yeah. You did, I mean, you had so many wonderful, beautiful locations. I mean, just being in the location van was like you got a tour of like the best of LA, right? I mean,
It's so true.
oh my
This
God.
image you're telling me here is Patty's house, which is also Kelly Lynch's house.
Mm.
And it's a Lautner house. I mean, he and Frank, but more Lautner chose like the top locations all
Yeah.
over LA. And this house has almost a 360 view of Los Angeles. It's kind of insane. And it's true. We were joking that we were on like an architectural
Yeah.
tour. Sometimes, and people all of a sudden you notice that our scouts were huge, and I'm like, why are the scouts so huge? And I was like, oh, because everyone wants to see this badass house that
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
yeah. So the house that we shot the Wannop in was a house. I lived in Silver Lake for over 10 years, and I literally would walk my dog past that house for
Ugh.
years. It was like, oh my God, I need to see that house. So when we started scouting, looking for locations, and Seth is an architectural like marvel. He knows a lot about architecture. So we really wanted to get into as many Lautner houses as possible, and they weren't. We're as in filming, we can be we don't mean to be, but sometimes we
Yeah.
can be a little bit big, and so
Your footprint gets bigger and bigger when you don't want it to be, because especially with lighting and flags and carts and
Yeah.
it is. I would never ever ever let a film crew in my house, but
Right. Totally.
but it is good money, though. It
I
is.
mean, yeah, I think it's, and LA locations have gotten like they're just tricky. I mean, Stacy Brasher, our location manager, was phenomenal. And we had to pivot a couple times with some locations that got super expensive and then we couldn't afford them. So we had to pivot and find something else and at last minute. So there was a lot of rescouting hotels, like original hotel we wanted to shoot in for the pediatrics, we wanted to shoot downtown at the Radisson. And it was also really difficult to get the shots we wanted. So we really had to go scouting as a team to find out if it would work for us, for camera, for actors, for the script. It wasn't just like, oh, this is cool, because we weren't doing any cutting.
Right.
So also the Warner House, we needed to be there the same time every day to get the same light. I know the last day they were literally chasing to get the last shot off before we lost our sunlight. So
It's all
we were
true.
we were living it. We were
Yeah.
living it. It was pretty incredible to go to all these locations and with season 2 I'm hoping to dive into even more interesting, like we're gonna have to dig deeper, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where we go with it.
Well, I like the pediatrics being at the Ebell because it's somewhere that everyone pretty much has shot in Hollywood, and but it is used for other things rather than us. So it is kind of like, oh yeah, that is like a community center in a sense of like a beautiful one, but how like using the space and using that outdoor courtyard, just giving it more, and at nighttime too, I thought was really a great way to see the e-bill too. Like I don't know, I'll be there next week shooting, so
That's funny, totally.
but
We've
daytime.
all, yeah. I mean, as a designer, as a decorator, you're like, oh my god, I've been here so many times. And so you have to like just look at it with the story, and then it just unfolds itself and
Yeah,
becomes what it's supposed to be. And we the ebel is a beautiful like space. It's
yeah, it
it
is.
it has so much history, and it's a women's club.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because like I've shot there a half a dozen times and I didn't really realize it was a women's club until this last time we went there. And I was really excited to like really like live that for the doctors going there, because
Yeah.
it is an iconic location and it is a
I don't
place
think
they
I
would
have.
go,
I don't have
you
it.
know.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
it turned out great.
And then you got to shoot at the Hilton for the Golden Globes, right? I mean, that's you didn't build
Yeah.
those. You didn't-
That was super intimidating and to design, and it turned out I gorgeous. I was really happy with the final. We only had a super limited amount of time to load into this location because of multiple factors. There were literally jackhammering the garage down next to us. There was
Right.
construction all around us, but Seth was adamant and Evan about shooting here because they didn't want to fake it. So we had less than 12 hours to set up the outside. So we
Oh
almost
wow.
it was almost like a theatrical like approach to everything. We pre-built everything. We pre-lit it with our gaffer Russell Iyer, who's super hands-on and helpful. Like the acrylic triangles that I designed for inside. We spent
The
a lot of
stage.
time testing them with different bulbs and different layers of paint to get that kind of onyx vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to like assemble it quickly. The hardest thing in assembling in there was the floor, the stage,
Oh,
which is not very big. And then, because we had pre-lit everything, we only had 3 days of prep to do that whole interior.
oh wow. It's a
So
huge room. It's many levels, and I mean, it's a lot going on because and they're walking through everything and they're in the bathroom. I mean, you guys showed everything.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and
beautiful.
like a lot of lighting. And
Yeah.
this stage like was kind of an organic thing. I really love to mix modern with organic, but then tweak it.
Mm,
And so I come up with this idea to gold leaf the all of these pond fronds, and I worked with Claire and we did a bunch of different samples and we just kind of organically put it together. I mean, literally, I think we built this the morning of, and
it's
they
beautiful.
I know we were really happy with them. It turned out really beautiful and was kind of a theme, like the palm, the Art Deco with palm fronds and the palm tree lights that are, I'm sure you've seen before at
Yeah.
one of the, catering houses. Just ended up being kind of like our go-to for a lighting element because again, we didn't, have a lot of time in there, so we were dressing a lot as we went.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And I mean, hearing like prep times and everything gives me anxiety. I was talking to someone yesterday, 2 days ago or something, and they were like, "Oh, do you watch the studio?" And they're not in the industry, and I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "It gives me anxiety." I go, "Yeah, what about I work in it, like I feel the anxiety when I watch it. I'm like, oh, it's so cringing sometimes, and it's so like you can't catch your breath sometimes, and that's how it is, but." There's also such joy in, our work and seeing it on screen and everything. I said, I hope that, you get that out of it too. And she's like, well, yeah, when they called out Saperstein and see how happy he was. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know if that's the real, like, I don't know if that's the happy part, but yeah, I mean, seeing our work up there is great.
I mean, there is a lot of anxiety to, I think there's like, it's more just like, I think anxiety has a bad term to it. Like I feel like anxiety is also like creative energy that we are inspired to create something. It elevates us, and when we start working all together, and so it's also like we pass the baton. So like I'm doing all of the set, and then Claire's doing the decorating, and each of us is adding to it creatively, and then we set it up with our team, and then we pass that on to
Yeah.
lighting, and then
Yeah.
lighting passes it on to actors. So it's this energy that's flowing through the whole design process. And then when it comes together, you do take a deep breath and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
we did it. And then we're on to the next one. So
Yeah, and then you're like, "Didn't they shoot that yet? How am I still prepping this?" Like, did you have scripts or outlines? Like, how did the like the upcoming episodes come at you?
um, we had we had like the scripts and outlines. They sometimes had to rewrite it for specific actors, and so that would change some of it. But the broad strokes were there. We the thing that was really great is each script was a story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
The movies and the movies were always really fun for us. Like, we got to do, a scary lodge for,
Yeah.
Paul Dano. And I got to do, it was almost like it was fun as a designer and decorator because we were like, oh, we get to do a zombie world. And then we
Yeah.
get to do
Yeah.
Chinatown. So it was really, it was playful and fun. And it's kind of a dream project to be able to like touch all these different genres. And they were open to whatever we came up with. So, like the Chinatown one, Claire and I added the Mujan parlor, you
Mm.
know, because I don't know if you've been to that space on Warner Brothers, it's white and
Yeah.
brick. And so I had found this, Chinese opera that was cleared from like, and so we literally printed all of that on our plotter to
Oh
save
my
money.
God, so great.
Stuck it up like wallpaper. So, even though everyone thinks, oh, there's so much money, we're finding ways to like
Yeah.
give like these sets that are just super high end finished with a story behind them, however we can. Like, and the guys were receptive because originally it was written for like three different trailers, the Chinatown thing. And, trailers aren't that fun to shoot in.
No,
And
they're
so
small.
we brought more of it outside by doing it in the alleyway and him coming down the steps and in the Mujan parlor. So then we only had to do the one trailer with Zach.
And all that neon that you had was awesome. I mean, giving and the reflections and everything that gave off of that. It was just it's so as you're saying, like seeing all the behind the scenes and extras out there and really giving it life is just it's wonderful for people to see not in the industry too, how it all goes down.
We had lots of cranes and
Yeah.
lots. I was joking with Adam. He's used every crane that exists in the film industry.
You also have to come up and clear a lot of graphics. Like you have all of these movie posters and trailers that you're doing and graphics and everything. I mean, that's really time consuming.
We did everything in camera.
Yeah.
Usually there's some green
Green
screen
screen.
stuff, but
Yeah.
we did everything in camera for many reasons why, especially like episode 109 and 110. So Zach, I can't say enough about Zach Bannon, my graphic designer. It was just him. I mean, no, I shouldn't say that. We had Scott doing some of the posters that the older posters that existed in the Continental.
Yeah.
Um, that was like the ones on the walls
Oh, and
and the
like
taller ones.
his
Yep.
office. Hold on. Let me get to.
Like that one right there on the right hand side was Scott.
Oh,
But
and this.
we had to custom make all these posters for each movie in the movie.
Yeah.
So there was over 10, I think, 10 posters. And then of course the Continental logos and the different variations and also the Kool-Aid, which
Yeah.
became
The Kool-Aid.
we would transform. The Kool-Aid was a big one. I worked with a concept designer, Henry Fong. We had to design a whole Kool-Aid family and the Kool-Aid, and there was a whole backstory to Kool-Aid. And then we worked on it for the animation aspect of it, just because we wanted the to be like a work in progress for Nick's story, Nick Stoller's,
Right.
directorial Kool-Aid movie. And then it was just a lot of, I mean, there were fun posters to design because we would do research and connect them to other filmmakers,
Yeah.
Scorsese or, Saul Bass, Vertigo, doing the Vertigo posters and it was really fun to concept all the stories. And we worked with Seth and Evan a lot on that. Like they were very, very hands-on on tweaking all the posters to the final.
I I love all the throwbacks to other films. Like The Sting, like the main poster is kind of like The Sting or like the Vertigo one and like I like just love all the throwback things because I think people who don't know it, if they're really into it, can like start to research and relate to like, oh, that's from that movie. I wonder what inspired them and then go watch those films and go like be appreciative of the film history that they're trying to, imply. Mhm.
And if you listen to any of Seth's podcasts or recordings. He just loves films
Yeah.
and filmmaking, and he references Scorsese a lot. And so, like we did the Alphabet City with the Ron Howard was actually leaning into like the taxi
Yeah.
driver,
Yeah.
movie, and so we reference those posters, and it's more of like a nod to like to filmmaking and how relevant they are and how much they've influenced all of us and continue to influence us. So you're right. I hope that people will go back and watch more of the movies from like starting with the 20s. I mean, it's not just
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock. There's so much
Oh,
history along the way to learn about filmmaking and how it's still the same. There's still like horror, comedy,
yeah.
dramas, big world building, science fiction. We're still circling the same. We're just telling, it's just more modern technology is influencing it.
I know. I in the last 2 years I've really done myself a little film school myself and just have such more appreciation for what came before and the influence decades like you could see like from the 30s to the 50s to set like it all like dominoes and just influence and everything but yeah, I love it. I love films. um did Claire and you have to design specific furniture for spaces like the conference room table I feel like is a build?
We built almost all the furniture. We built
Yeah, like
I would say 75% of the furniture
yeah,
in the executive office. Obviously Frank Lloyd Wright inspired. We had to clear everything. So we had to design it, draw it, clear it. Um, and um, she built that. We used a hand drafts person. There were beautiful drawings. And then, she had to build it really quickly. So we had to make definitive decisions together in the space. And I love built-ins. So
mm-hmm,
because they make you feel like they've been there forever. They're part of the house. It's part of the thought process and how you're using the room. And with Seth's office, we knew that there was going to be a lot of scenes in there. We knew there was going to be a lot of people in there. So, that's the scale of it was, if you look at research any executive CEO's
Yeah.
offices, they're like half the size or a quarter of the size. So Seth's character like scored.
Yeah.
Matt scored a cool office. And so, Seth said to me, I need to be able to do lots of things in my office with my cast. I want them to be moving. I want the camera to move, because he didn't want the camera just to go in and stay in one place. So we created all these little spaces, like, the conference room. He if you notice, Seth drinks a ton of coffee.
Yeah.
And he does in real life as well. So we had to have a coffee maker, which, would have originally maybe been, a wet bar, but now it's got an espresso machine on there, so, and lots of TVs everywhere because we make movies. So they would always be screening things. And I know people are talking a lot about the donut table, which was Seth's idea, and so we did create all these tables, and we did 2 conference rooms. And, we put the logo on the table, and then we had to make the donut version of the table as well.
Right. I also love in his office, there's a scene. I think he's drinking coffee. I think they're pitching something, and he's sitting over in that little nook that you created with the built-in sofa, and he's like so relaxed, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really think this is cool," or but like it's just such a little. You're like, "Where are they?" And then they turn around, and you're still in his office. It's such a great space.
Thank you. Yeah,
Really
it
great.
was I'm so happy when they use the spaces that we give them as
Yeah.
well, because sometimes they're like, and even the chess table and like the fireplace, those are
Yeah.
all like left over from like when they first built the studio in the early 1920s. People were like, fireplace in an office? And I was like, yeah, maybe back
Yeah.
then they didn't have central heat, or so it was like fun to just like also bring these odd elements into an office that would never have been there. And Seth was, open to everything we offered. And also I just really channeled, I really thought about like maybe who the first, because it's called the Steinberg building.
Right.
So we literally did a painting of Mr. Steinberg, who would have, who is the original owner and developer of Continental Studios. And so we kind of channeled him, like Claire and I said, like, oh, he would have a wardrobe, and he would have had multiple suits hanging up, and he would have probably changed them. And
Mm-hmm.
so we thought a lot about the past CEOs of Continental
Yeah.
Studios.
I mean, I walk by a huge marble bust of Zucker at Paramount every day in my office building. Like they do contribute, and I mean, it's legendary. I mean, MGM and Mayor's office, and it's a huge status of the who's running the studio in their office. So yeah, giving them all those details is fantastic. It's wonderful. I know that we're gonna go, but I just wanna say, like, I'm just a huge fan of the show and the design and everything that you've brought out in this world, because you've created such a character here with the backlots and the studio and everything, and giving and creating a whole studio. I mean, in movies and working in TV and film, how awesome to be able to create your own studio. It's just awesome. I'm so jealous.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to and being a big fan. We connected with my fellow, comrades of you and decorators and art directors and production designers reaching out and saying that they're really loving the show it means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's really spectacular work, and I'm jealous. Just a huge thank you to Julie for giving me that time. She was in the car working in Atlanta, and so I know that taking time out of her schedule was hard. And I also had to get to work. So it's a tad bit of a shorter interview, but I think we got everything in there for you. Just a beautiful show, and I do hope that it gets recognized. Her ability to blend the architecture and the narrative and the design is truly inspiring. So if you haven't watched the series yet, please check it out. It's on Apple TV. Make sure you subscribe to Decorating Pages on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss upcoming interviews. The last home stretch of this FYC season for Next week, Matlock and Dexter Original Sin. And don't forget, full video interviews are streaming now on Decorating Page's YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button and keep those set dreams coming. Was that too cheesy? It is a little cheesy. I wrote it and I was like, you're a dork. But whatever. I know you got an earful. I'm Kim Wannop for Decorating Pages.